Okay, picture this. You're deep in the North Carolina marshlands. It's isolated, beautiful, wild. Then a mysterious death happens, rocks the nearby town, and suddenly everyone's pointing fingers at this young woman, the one they call the Marsh Girl, who's lived out there alone forever. It's this incredible setup that just pulled millions of readers in. Today we are diving deep, really getting into Delia Owens' huge debut novel, Where the Crawdads Sing. Our goal here isn't just to recap. We want to unpack why this book became such a phenomenon. We'll give you the core insights, look at its literary side, its massive appeal, and, the discussions it kicked off.
Exactly. We're going to peel back the layers, look at the stunning nature writing, the human story at its heart. We'll explore how it got so big, what makes Kreia, the main character, tick, and how it manages to be this, gripping mystery, but also something much deeper about, well, nature and us.
Right. So to really get Where the Crawdads Sing, you have to start with Kaya Clark. She's the heart of it all, isn't she? Her story. It's more than just coming of age. It's about pure survival deep in those marshes. She's abandoned by her family really young and grows up completely isolated out there. And just for context, for you listening, the book came out August 2018 from G.P. Putnam's Sons. It's around 384 pages. Genre-wise, it's kind of a mix, wouldn't you say? Literary fiction, definitely, but also mystery, coming of age.
Oh, absolutely. It blends them seamlessly. And what strikes you right away, I think, is how Owens establishes the marsh. It's not just where Kaya lives. It's her teacher, her parent, her only real companion. Nature is everything to her. And this immediately sets her up as this outsider figure. The world sees her through that lens of suspicion. It perfectly lays the foundation for everything, the mystery, the romance, her whole difficult journey. It really makes you think about what survival even means.
And the structure Owens uses that really stood out to me, she jumps between two different time periods. How does that work exactly? How does it serve the story? Because you have Kaya's early life, right? Back in the 50s and 60s, seeing her struggle, basically just trying to make it day to day. But then you also have this other thread set later in 1969. There's been a death, Chase Andrews, a local big shot. His body's found, looks suspicious, and pretty quickly, people start looking at Kaya.
Yeah, that dual timeline is, it's really clever. It does a couple of things brilliantly. It lets the mystery unfold gradually, feeding you clues about Chase's death while you're also learning about Kia's past. So as you see her facing prejudice, her loneliness, but also her incredible strength and how she connects with nature, you start to understand why people suspect her, but also maybe why she's capable of things people wouldn't expect. It keeps you guessing, keeps you invested in both her past and the present danger she's in. It really drives the narrative while exploring these big themes like prejudice and loneliness and even, well, love in unusual forms.
Okay, so beyond the plot, which is definitely gripping, let's talk about these deeper layers, the themes. You mentioned nature being so central. How does Owens elevate the marsh beyond just being a setting? You said it's almost like a character.
Well, yeah, exactly. And Owen's background as a wildlife scientist really shines through here. The ecological detail is just stunningly vivid. But it's more than just description. She presents nature, the marsh, as this powerful force. It's harsh, yes, but it's also Kia's teacher, her provider. It nurtures her in ways society never could. So it really pushes you to think about this idea of nature as nurturer in a totally different way. And that deep connection she has with the marsh directly feeds into this theme of isolation versus belonging. Her solitude is profound, almost crushing at times, but it throws into sharp relief that basic human need we all have for connection, for acceptance. You really feel her longing for that, especially in the few tentative relationships she forms.
And how the townspeople react to her. That feels almost as important as the marsh itself. How does Owens make us feel that injustice so strongly? Is there ever a point where maybe you can sort of see why they're suspicious, even if it's wrong, from their limited view?
That's a really interesting point. Owens is brilliant at showing how prejudice works. The town's assumptions, the gossip, the fear of someone who's different, it all paints this picture of prejudice and misjudgment. I don't know if she makes their prejudice understandable exactly, but she shows how easily fear and ignorance can lead a community to ostracize someone. They create this otherness around Kia. But importantly, Kia doesn't just crumble under it. We see her grow emotionally, intellectually. She goes from this neglected kid to a strong, self-taught naturalist. And that journey is a powerful coming-of-age story in itself, showing her resilience despite everything the town throws at her.
Let's talk about the writing itself. People rave about Delia Owens' style. Words like poetic, lyrical, cinematic get thrown around. What does that actually mean for you as the reader? What does it feel like?
Yeah, those words fit perfectly. The poetic lyricism. It's not just pretty words. Her descriptions are so rich, so sensory, you don't just read about the marsh. You kind of experience it. You feel the humidity, smell the decay and the life, hear the sounds. It's incredibly evocative, almost like she's painting with words. And the cinematic clarity part. She frames scenes visually. You get these wide shots of the landscape, then sudden close-ups, maybe on a feather Kaya finds, or the look in someone's eyes. The dialogue is often sparse, but every word counts. And the pacing. It's this wonderful balance. It can be slow, letting you sink into Kaya's world, but then the mystery ramps up and it gets really tense. It just works beautifully.
And reviewers pointed to specific strengths too, right? Like Kaya being such a complex, sympathetic protagonist and that genre fusion we touched on earlier. What makes those stand out?
Definitely. Kaya. She's the anchor. Her journey is so raw and human. You feel her pain, her triumphs. She makes mistakes. She loves fiercely. She survives. That complexity makes her incredibly sympathetic and, oh, unforgettable. You're just rooting for her. And that blending of genres is key to its broad appeal, I think. It's got the beautiful prose and deep character study of literary fiction, but it also has the page-turning plot of a mystery and the emotional heart of a romance. It all comes together to pack a real emotional punch, especially that ending. Wow, it lands with such impact and makes you rethink everything you just read. It's quite something.
Okay, but even a book this beloved isn't perfect for everyone. What about the critiques? Some people mentioned issues with pacing or maybe parts that felt a bit unrealistic.
Right, no book pleases everyone. And yeah, despite being this massive bestseller #1 on the New York Times list, selling, over 15 million copies, plus the movie. Some readers did find the beginning a bit slow, really immersing you in Kaya's early isolation. And certain plot points later on, particularly around how the mystery gets resolved, some felt it stretched credibility a little thin. There was also some discussion about Kaya's self-education, how she becomes this published naturalist almost entirely on her own, maybe felt a bit romanticized or perhaps implausible for some readers looking for strict realism.
So, interesting critiques, but clearly they didn't stop it from becoming this huge cultural moment. How did it overcome those things to resonate so deeply with so many people? What was the secret sauce, maybe?
Well, I think connecting it all, that final verdict of 9 out of 10 in the review really speaks to its overall impact. The magic isn't just in one element, it's that combination. The sheer beauty of the nature writing, that deep emotional connection you forge with Kaya, and the constant pull of the mystery. It created this immersive world that felt both like an escape and somehow deeply relevant to themes we all grapple with: loneliness, judgment, love, survival. It just hit that sweet spot for a massive audience, offering something beautiful, something thrilling, and something genuinely moving. A must-read, really, if you enjoy literary fiction that also keeps you on the edge of your seat. So maybe something for you to think about after this. Given how the book pits Kaya's deep bond with the wildness of nature against society's rules and judgments and throws in this murder mystery, what is it ultimately saying about that tension, between the wild parts of nature and maybe the wild parts within ourselves and the demands that civilization or society puts on us? How do we navigate that?